One, two. Okay, there we go. We got audio. Don't know about this color grade on the camera. No, it's the color of it's the light balance. I don't understand. The transition was hella fast. One second. Seems good. Whatever, man. Color grading inside of OBS. Not OBS, whatever this is. Wirecast. Oh, it's a little weird. Damn, would my wrist that pale compared to my head? It doesn't seem right. What am I even doing here? I don't know. This is the problem with being proficient at networking and stuff. Just you can just stream and have it be technically impressive enough that you can justify doing it just because it's got a low production value, but then you have no reason for why you're doing it, which I really don't have any reason for why I'm doing it, so I guess I'll open logic and we will go from there. That helps the colors a little bit. That's interesting. This is a live recording, as is everything quantum state stuff. Man, I don't even remember what music was like before I started doing all this infinite shit. Well, I mean, one bizarre thing that's happened is I've gotten to the point where I know every patch in Omnisphere that I like. And there are a lot of patches in Omnisphere. So, like, I didn't think it was possible to get to that point. Like that one. And I've got a few other versions of it. I don't want anyone to see my patch names, so we're gonna just hide that for a second. Not because I don't like, they're just weird. Some of them are strange. Is this the one? Not even that good. I mean, it's good, but like, it's, yeah, I mean, I created a lot of these when I started this project, this fourth dimensional one. And they're great. I mean, I created this entire template, the first version of it, probably in 2020, early. It's been a while. And I mean, I refined it until 2022. I kept adding new libraries, and I ran out of space on my external drive where I stored all my sample libraries. I had a 2 terabyte at the time. I don't think they were making 4 terabytes, so I was like, okay, I should probably stop. And I also had like 300 tracks. And then when I started doing this last project, I just put all the sounds that I was creating for all my various pieces, and especially my bass. Yeah, just this entire section is just bass stuff. Because bass is the hardest thing to mix well in the modern aesthetic, and so having all these ready to go, pre-mixed, basically routed sidechain, all that stuff, like that just made the process so much more smooth and intuitive. And yeah, I mean, I had a few of these before. I had this Atmosphere one was in the Avengers before. Maybe a couple of these were in here, and these were in here. These ones are in here. I've been using these for a really long time. Ever since I got Keyscapes, this was like close. But this stuff, the percussion stuff, that hasn't changed for years. Like, I don't even use most of these. I use hands on. I use the drum kits because I come from a band with a great drummer and the drum kit. Like, I mean to say, my dad was in a band with a great drummer, so I grew up with that sound. So I love good, like, festival drum kit sounds, and I've loved figuring out how to mix them into the modern aesthetic and make them electronically. These things, I mean, this is how overcomplicated this is. Like, I would not use the vast majority of these, and this was my driver for a while. I would be just cycling through all this random stuff. And I mean, there's categories that we don't even talk about, like, I don't know, what even, Atmos, like, this is like real scoring stuff. And they're great for it, but now that I'm doing this stuff that's in between, it's instrumental and all, but it's driving. It's got to have a positive. I'm not down in there very much anymore. And frankly, this stuff is so niche. Skyrim patch. This stuff is so niche that this cat is about to break some stuff. Hey, excuse me. Do not. Hey. Excuse me. They're all very, very, very niche. And here's my thing. These types of sounds, a lot of them are very organic. And I philosophize a lot about the relationship between organic and synthetic stuff. Be it AI or whatever you want. And this is basically the equivalent of AI, metaphorically speaking. Like the ability to do what you would do physically on a computer. And for these sounds, that is the place that I think the human orchestra should always be used, because it's so minimal. The amount of volume that these types of kind of ambient sounds will take up in your total piece is going to be very small. And it's also not a primary role. So that all means that the logistical requirements and the cost of having people involved in creating those sounds is not going to be anything compared to their having an orchestra do all of your stuff. But I think that this is where the humanity shines, is just the creativity of these types of things. And these are all great patches, but I feel like if I really need something like this, I want to like make it myself, because that's like, that's where all the coolest pedals and all the coolest ideologies and production and everything have come from, is that innovative spirit. So a lot of times I'll just double up my leads and like do other stuff with it. But I mean, the part that I'm most proud of with this, and this is why this is first, is because this is what I started with, is all my orchestral stuff. I have an extremely in-depth orchestral setup in here, and I could totally create a score purely orchestral to then be transcoded, as it were, or whatever what you call that. I don't even know. Made into sheet music. Um, Using this. And it's fun to come in here whenever I need a little orchestral stuff. But basically, it's a pretty simple setup. But the part that baffles me is like, I have like every sample pack you can get within reason, within 2 terabytes, which is a lot of space for audio files. And there's a lot that I own that I haven't downloaded just because I wasn't using them much at all. But what I found is the time it takes me to create a great patch from scratch is so long that it always degrades my writing because I'm like a race car. Like if I can just go and like make something really solid, if it's a very efficient process. But if I'm spending half an hour making my lead sound, like I'm gonna lose steam. You know, it's just and I used to do that, and I know because of how much more consistent my performance is. Now that I have all these things ready to go, I know that this is what works for me. And so my whole doctrine has shifted to finding great patches to start from and really using them as characters. And I mean, this represents like 10% of the total patches that I've had. And obviously, I'm not going to show like all of my favorite patches and exactly how I've configured them and all of that because, you know, that's took me a while to figure that out, and I'm proud of it. But so as to say, I want to like keep that as a creative tool and not an educational one. Um, but I mean, I've exhausted all the libraries I'm in. Like in Omnisphere, within the categories, the parameters that I'm finding the stuff that works for me. I've found pretty much everything. You know, like I know the Omnisphere library pretty well at this point. And just to be clear, probably 6,000 of the 10,000 sounds that are in there are like ambient as fuck. Like they're not, they're niche. You know what I mean? So the amount of like sounds that could be a lead or are a usable pad, not too abstract, or bass or whatever else, like is not that many. You know what I mean? The vast majority is like real synth stuff. And that's why I love Omnisphere. You can find absolutely anything. But you know, the ones that have the character I'm looking for, I've really burned them out. And that's fascinating because Omnisphere was always this endless expanse to me. And only because of how wild all this fourth dimensional stuff I'm on is it have I gotten to this point? And it's really strange. It's like where I got with the piano, you know, it's like, okay, I know how to play the piano. I know how to make the piano sound cool, which actually makes me want to play piano. Um, and that's what this all feels like. It feels like I know all the tones of this instrument, this quantum instrument I have here. And that's wild. I never thought I would. And likewise, making all this crazy stuff and working by myself for so long has forced me to go inside with all of my theory. And I have all the theory knowledge you could ever acquire. But the fact that I never speak it anymore and it's just used in my head has made it all like quantum. And it's weird. Music theory is so simple to me now. Like, I don't think about keys. I hardly think about chords ever. All I think about is scale degrees, numbers, and intervals. And just tension and release. Like, most of the time, I can just binary, like, flip it, tension, release, and, like, the rest of it is almost organic at this point. Like I can do anything and I can stop and tell you what every single chord I'm playing is and why I played it from a theoretical standpoint, but that there's no longer a direct correlation between that theoretical understanding and me doing it. It's more me stopping and looking at it and say, okay, I can tell you what this is because I know theory. But I didn't do it because of all of that. You know what I'm saying? And like that's made playing strangely straightforward, where
the possibilities when you're just operating on a tension and release basis and you have all of this vocabulary to work from are very few, frankly. And I think I'll just play for a minute so that fuck, I got spit on my fucking screen. Sorry, I'm swearing. I also don't care. Like, swear words are real. They're don't use them if you're a kid. But I also like every kid is playing some video game and everybody's getting real strange in those chats. So I'm sure this is less disturbing than most of that stuff. Don't worry, AI real time bleep filter coming soon. That should not be too hard to figure out. I'm excited to do that because then everyone can just swear as much as they want in any context and the AI will just bleep it out for you in real time. So I'm just getting ready for that. Anyway, uh, yeah, I'll just play for a minute so there's some merit to this other than me rambling. I love this patch, man. When I found this patch, this is my favorite piano ever. There's a lot of beautiful physical pianos, but this one, like, yo, calm down. I mean, there's just not that many options for chord changes. There are infinite varieties of chords, but for the actual root notes, there's only 12 notes in your. There's only 6, 7 notes in your scale. You know, and like a lot of them don't do much. Like, let me show you. So we're in this key. This is a major. Well, let's go to a minor key. All right, this minor key. So 1. So I'll do a 2 chord progression with every set of chords in the scale, 2 or 3 chord. So maybe like a 2-5-1 type of deal. So here we go. This is the 1. That was every possible two chord combination with some turnarounds in there. 2-5-1 most of the time, or an alternate turnaround in the minor scale. And just so you understand, the minor and major scale are the same thing. They're the exact same thing. And the Lydian scale. No one talks about the Lydian scale. The Lydian scale is the most important. The six, this, that was the Lydian scale. I mean, they're all the same. Music theory is quantum shit stuff. All right. If I'm good at quantum stuff, which I'm not convinced I am, I have a test for myself to see if I am. We'll find out. I mean, I'm like, I understand that at least. We'll see if it actually is worth anything at that point. But it's in large part due to music theory. Because when you get far enough, it's quantum. It always was. Inversions, like one of the most fundamental parts of understanding music theory, inversions. That's literal quantum entanglement. It says that one point doesn't actually exist in any one point, and it's tied to other things in other places, and it's like, wait, what? You know? So, um, that means that there's not a lot of options at the end of the day. There's a lot of nuance, but there's not a lot of options. And um, by options, I mean there's only 7 notes in your scale. And the temporal parameters of music theory are such that uh, are such that it's like you can't just randomly keep throwing chords in. You got to resolve. And you should resolve sooner than that. So like really you got to resolve pretty fast. So what can you do in that tension and release space? Not a lot. Now I'm going to do all of the things I can come up with for chord changes to fit in that tension and release space in minor key. And I think you'll see what I'm getting at here. Oh wait, it's the same thing I did last time. This is my point, bro. It's all the same stuff. I mean, in the problem, not problem, but the reason is simple. The form for a song has changed. To be fair, back in the blues days, there were no chord changes. Everyone just played the exact same chords. I think that's because most instruments were like so not in tune with each other and like they were missing notes and stuff that the blues would always work. And so that's what everybody did. And the blues also sounds kind of dissonant, so it works if it's a little out. Things are a little uh, not in tune. But what it really is like hip hop. The innovation of digital music production, which needs to be very formatted and sequenced. It shrank everything. It took what back in the jazz times would be an incredibly long form and turned it into a what I would consider to be a motif. Like a loop is basically a motif. And that's how you structure your song. You have these different motifs. And I think song structure actually got much more complicated because now you've got a lot of motifs put together in cool and interesting ways. But the actual dynamics of each motif can only be so complicated if they're so long. Shit, I can never remember these notes. You know what? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I've got a bird dog right here. I've got an HDMI cable. What am I doing? I can just use my other camera as a audio input. That's kind of smart. Because I like this image. Because it's weird. I don't want this to look that good. This other camera's like, look, man, I only want you to see this much of this room. So that's all you're getting. That's not about the room. It's about the DAW. It's about the software. It's about whatever we work and all. You know what I'm saying? But oh man, my freaking forearms. I don't know why they're. It's all this piano. That's why. I'm like, what? Why would my forearms hurt? Oh yeah, because I play piano too fast. Um, yeah, that'll work. I can use that camera, and I can put the mic on it, and I can use that as my audio input. I can just put it right there. Put it with the HDMI. Yeah. Okay. That's kind of exciting. Because I want to be able to talk while I play. I can't because it's using the speakers to. Well, wait a minute. No, hold on. Part of this problem is that I can't get um I can't get Logic clean anyway. Let me think about this. Does this joint have audio input? It's got a headphones out. That's not really helpful. Oh wait, no, this is has a mic symbol on it too. Maybe this is an input as well. Let me think about this. So I could do potential. Let me think about this. I want to deconflict. I want to be able to hear logic and I want to be able to go in. And I think this will work because I think I can do, I can monitor out of the camera and I can monitor out of the camera. Wait, no, how do I get the freaking how do I get the mic audio in? No, this doesn't work. Because the problem with this is, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Because what I'm assuming, I think I tested this somehow, but I'm assuming that when I'm talking through the mics in the computer, that when I'm playing, it just overwrites that. I could also just talk in between when I'm playing. Like the inefficiency factor is very minimal. So yeah, you know what? We'll just do that. Not really worth it. I mean, it is. This is a stupid issue. I don't understand why I can't just pair the clip-on mic over Bluetooth. Well, wait a minute. No, hold on. This does make more sense because the I can just use the mic to pick up logic as well. But since the inverse square law, it will be louder for me talking because it'll be clipped onto me. Hmm. Yeah, I have an extra network cable. Just plug my PlayStation network cable into the bird dog. It's kind of ratchet, but whatever. Makes sense, I guess. Is it worth it though? I think so. I mean, the audio will probably be better, just objectively. Let's try it. I'll be right back. All right, this is the dumbest setup I have ever done. The noise floor seems much lower. So I just have a video layer, or you can see it here. This is the camera. I just have the lens cap on still, and I'm just using it. I'm using an HDMI to NDI feed purely as an audio input because it's way cleaner. Hey, 1 2. Yeah, 1 2. Bop, bop. The gain on the camera doesn't really make any sense. It's kind of confusing. Why can't I just use the bird dog as the audio input though? It obviously could do that. And I guess that's what I'm doing. Who cares? We've got better audio now, I hope, I think. Probably. It's actually a pretty simple setup. Actually, hold for 1 second. I'm going to reroute this cable because I will just leave the HDMI where it is. I'm going to put everything else away whenever I'm done. Whoops, not that. All right. Now I gotta clean off this mouse. It's been bothering me. It's all grimy. All right, I'll be back. I'm gonna do that, and then we'll get back to the class. Main. This is nice. To not have to gate my speaking manually. That's it's kind of difficult. I mean, like trying to explain something about music you're playing when you have to wait for it not to be, the instrument to not be making any sound to talk. It's kind of dumb.
Also, in case anyone listening is ever someone who was trying to get in touch with me for any reason, it don't work like that no more. I'm trying to build me some AI agents that can deal with my communications, since I clearly lack the ability to do so. But they ain't here quite yet, so please hold. Yeah. Don't worry though. I got you. You're gonna get the cool stuff soon, whoever you may be. So just let me cook for a minute, get these AI agents put together, and then everybody gonna be having a good time. That's much better. You gotta have a clean mouse. There's nothing grosser than a grimy mouse. So it feels weird in your hand. Oh, that's so much nicer. All right. All right, let's get back to business here. Now that I can actually do this. I mean, I think. Let me test it out. Hey, what's up? Hey, what's good? Just testing these levels. Yes, sir. This is so much better. Using a camera as an audio interface. That's a first. Like purely. I mean, obviously I use a camera as an audio interface all the time with the video. But just as audio interface by itself, that's kind of crazy. So, yeah, I mean, I think I said this in my last live recording, but do not fear. I know these are incoherent ramblings of a madman. Because I am a madman who incoherently rambles, I intend to create an AI tool capable of identifying the nuggets of useful information in anyone's mad ramblings. So that'll both enable people like me to just ramble like mad and not have to worry themselves with structure. And then the AI is basically an editor, but it's an editor for you, the user. So you can have it raw, or you can just like turn up a slider that's like, how much rambling do you want? You want 100% rambling, 50%, 30, 10? And that way it would basically have skipped over where I was just gone, skipped over me doing all this tech, and just like spliced it from where I was saying what I'm about to continue saying. So don't worry, this is all fourth dimensional. It's all part of the thing. But anyway, yeah, hip hop computerized production changed song formatting. Okay, I'm going to get distracted here for a second. I don't understand. I got a new Ubiquity switch. Bird dogs are PoE powered. Does this joint not do PoE? It's plugged in USB. Because I had to plug the bird dog into some random DC cable that I just found. I gotta look that up real quick. You know, we all got ADHD, let's be honest. It's definitely true. All right, I'll be right back. I gotta deal with something. I don't know what this cat is doing down here. Trying to eat my switch. What do you, dude? What are you doing up there, man? Okay, PoE. We looking at PoE. Hold on, hold on. Five-port PoE switch. So it does PoE or it doesn't? There was one that said PoE in on the switch. That's also my network connection to the network, so I can't unplug that joint. Tell me about the PoE. I gotta understand why it ain't working. Dude, are these, bro? I just got these Ethernet cables. What are they? Cat 5? They're not Cat 5e. Aren't these like Cat 6 or Cat 7? Son, Cat 7 does PoE, my dog. Who cares? Whatever. We got it to work. It's all good. I knew. I was like, I didn't get no freaking like garbage cable recently. Who would get any? Why would you get anything less than? I mean, Cat 8 is OP, but like Cat 7, that's what everything is when you go to buy Ethernet now. So I don't know why you'd get anything different. Anyway, thank you, future AI tool I create, which will allow for the easy, unconfused, just whatever. What I was saying was, and I mean that if you're watching this before that tool exists, that it will be integrated into YouTube or Facebook or wherever you're watching it. Like it's just a little button next to your quality button that's like AI editor, real-time editor controls. So because I'm going to help make that, it's okay that I'm very incoherent. What are you doing up here? It's a cat, though. That's what cats do. I don't know what she's trying to get up to. Anyway, yes, music produced on a computer is formatted differently than stuff written for a band because there's no chart. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. When you write a chart, you write and you got like another section. And you go back to the top. Yeah, that's a bop, right? You can very easily like get down to that. No, I'm sorry. I love jazz. I love standards. I just made that up. That was like the definition of a standard. Also, let me turn my gain down because it's clipping, because the studio display speakers are like too smart and they don't, oh no, they'd be weird. No, like that's, I mean, my uncle Art Neville of the Meters is one of the founders of the modal form, and like this motif thing, in my opinion, started back then with like funk and, you know, early R&B, where you just have a simple little groove. And it just keeps looping. Like the concept of a loop is kind of where this began. and I've taken that to the fourth dimension. So, but that's also why I'm saying there are limits to like what works within the very loopable ethos. And I'm running into that limit in terms of theory, just like you have to loop it again. You can't go somewhere else. Even if you stretched as wide as you can, that was like a 8 or 16 measure loop or something, you still got to loop it. And it's like theory in looping is different than just theory by itself, because you have to stay within parameters. And it's interesting. I'm just running into those parameters now. Like, you can't do weird chords and stuff and loop it, because it gets redundant very fast. If you loop some strange chords, you got to lean all the way into it, or it's just going to get weird. And also, you can't do it that many times, or else everyone's going to be like, hey, that sounds like that other song. You know, like, you got to use very standard fare kind of power chord stuff for it to not become redundant if you ever do it again. And that's the strangest thing, is that you have to be cliche to not be cliche, or to not be redundant. So the obvious solution is sound. If you change the sound, then that'll allow you to cycle the character well. But I'm also running into that mechanical limit. And it means that all that's left is all that you ever began with, and that's notes. Not chords, notes themselves. Like what I was just playing was really simple. It was just... a couple 2-5-1s. But what gives it its character is all this other stuff. I don't know, man. I think it was play too fast. There's not that many notes. When you're playing this fast, you like realize there's not that many notes. That's interesting. Well, kids, don't play too fast. I mean, you can, but just in moderation. I also just play a lot, and I write a lot. Now that I have this system where it's hyper efficient, I can just be creating in like 10 things in the time where I used to do one. And I think that just means I'm running into the edges of like what you can do within the current parameters through technological, I don't want to say superiority, but that is like the technical term. Like my technological approach is so technological that it's unlocking these new domains. Very interesting. You know what? If nothing else, the audio is now a doable format for this setup, so I'll definitely do more little motifs, lessons. And don't worry, that same AI system that will be able to filter out the nonsense per recording will also be able to curate for you whatever assortment of pieces from different live recordings together into one unit. It's going to be good. So until then, thank you for tolerating this absolute nonsense. And let's look forward to AI making it so stuff like this isn't nonsense anymore. Thank you. Peace.